The forge crackles, a steady rhythm beneath the wind's howl outside. The hammer falls with a sound that vibrates through the bones, its clang sharp and unyielding. A red glow flickers from the hearth, dancing in the shadows of the stone walls. The air is thick with the smell of soot and burning charcoal. Sparks scatter like fleeting stars, vanishing before they can be seen. The blacksmith's face is grim, streaked with soot, sweat, and determination, his brow furrowed as he strikes the glowing iron once again. The heat from the forge stings his skin, but he does not flinch. He is bound to it, as much as the hammer is bound to the anvil. This is the rhythm of his life, and it is all he knows. In the quiet hum of the forge, the blacksmith's hands move with an artistry honed by years of labor, each strike carrying the weight of his history. His fingers are calloused, rough, remnants of the work he has done, of the countless hours spent in the fire's embrace. Yet his heart carries a quiet ache. He is a maker of tools, of weapons, and of destiny. But his name will not be remembered. It will be forgotten. His work will be wielded in battle, raised in triumph, and brought to its bloody end. Yet he remains unseen. He forges the instruments of war and peace, but never the stories. He will not be immortalized in the annals of history. The kings, the knights, the warriors. These are the names sung by the bards, their glories etched into time. And yet, the blacksmith who makes their tools, who shapes their weapons, is lost to the shadow. The heat of the fire licks at his face as he plunges the hot metal into the quenching barrel, steam rising in thick clouds around him. The hiss of the water is almost deafening, an ominous sound that echoes through the forge like the whispers of those who have fallen before. The metal is transformed in the water's embrace, hardened and unyielding, as if it has tasted battle already. But for all its strength, the blacksmith knows it will be wielded by hands that will never appreciate the labor it took to shape it. The king will hold it high, but the maker will never be remembered. In the quiet moments between each hammer strike, the blacksmith lets his mind wander. He thinks of the legends, of the kings, the heroes, the battles that will be fought with the weapons he forges. His work will end in death and glory, but no one will remember the hands that made it. The smoke of the forge swirls in the air like a prayer, but there are no gods to hear it, no divine hand to recognize his labor. The blacksmith is both creator and destroyer. He shapes the tools of war with his own hands, and yet he is never part of the story. His legacy is as fleeting as the sparks that fly from his anvil. The night deepens around him, and still, he works. The fire in the hearth dims, casting a deeper shadow across the forge. His hands move on instinct now, driven by a force beyond himself. He has no choice. His duty is to the forge, to the hammer, to the iron. And yet, in the quiet recesses of his heart, there is a flicker of something more, something deeper. A question that lingers in the back of his mind. Is this all there is? To create, to shape, to be forgotten? The clang of the hammer grows louder, more insistent, a reflection of the questions inside him. With each strike, he forces his doubt aside, burying it beneath the heat and the noise of his craft. But still, it remains. Who will remember him? Who will speak of the blacksmith whose hands forged the blades that won wars? Who will whisper his name as the sword is raised in battle? The king will have his glory, the knight will have his tale. And the blacksmith? He will fade into the firelight, his name forgotten, his work lost to time. But there is something, too, in this anonymity. The blacksmith is not a king, not a warrior, not a legend. He is simply a man, bound to his work, to the forge, to the endless rhythm of the hammer. In his silence, he has created something enduring. In his invisibility, he has shaped history. And though his name may never be remembered, though the bards will never sing of him, there is a quiet satisfaction in the knowledge that he has played his part in the grand cycle. The hammer falls again, and with it, the blacksmith continues, bound to his craft, bound to the forge. His name may be lost, but his legacy, like the flame in the hearth, will endure. As the night stretches on, the blacksmith pauses. The work is done, the blade cooling in the steel blue light of the dawn. He stands for a moment, staring at his creation. It is beautiful in its simplicity, sharp, strong, and ready. Ready for someone else to wield, to carry into battle. He knows that it is the work of a lifetime, though his name will never be attached to it. And perhaps that is enough. He turns toward the darkness, leaving behind the heat and the fire, the clang of the hammer. In the quiet of the morning, the world outside waits, indifferent to the hands that shape it. With a final, lingering glance at the forge, the blacksmith steps into the shadows. The forge remains behind him, its fire still burning, its work never done. The legacy of the hammer, of the hands that shaped history in silence, will live on, carried in the hands of those who will never know its maker. The forge will remain, and with it, the blacksmith's legacy, forever bound to the fire and the anvil, forgotten by time, yet etched in every battle fought and every kingdom built. And as he walks away from the flames, the question echoes in his mind. Is this the fate of all makers? To be forgotten while their work shapes the world? The wind whispers in the distance, a soft reminder that the blacksmith is not alone in this fate. The world is full of nameless laborers, forgotten artisans, whose work will endure long after they have passed. The hammer falls again, and the forge, like time itself, keeps burning. The first light of dawn has not yet touched the earth when the blacksmith steps into the forge, a solitary figure in the pre-dawn mist. His silhouette is framed by the flickering shadows of the fire, and the hum of the night seems to hold its breath. He moves quietly, as though the world outside still sleeps, and yet he is already awake, his hands already seeking the comfort of the anvil and the hammer. The forge's warmth is a welcome balm to the cold morning air, its glow reflecting in the blacksmith's weary eyes. His hands are familiar with this heat, this fire, an old companion that never leaves him. But there is something different in the air tonight, a quiet tension. The blacksmith senses it before he even strikes his first blow. The hammer rises and falls in a steady rhythm, each strike sending reverberations through the iron and into the heart of the forge. The clang of metal on metal is a sound that has become as familiar to him as his own breath. But today, as the molten metal twists and turns beneath his hammer, he feels the weight of it more than ever. The flames crackle and hiss, but they seem far away, as if the blacksmith is no longer part of this world. His mind wanders as his hands continue their work. The fire's dance pulls him deeper into the quiet chambers of his thoughts. What has he truly forged in this life? The weapons he shapes will find their way into the hands of men who will fight battles, who will win and lose kingdoms. But no one will ever speak his name. The weight of his creation will be carried by others, those who will live and die by his work, those who will leave their mark on the world, while he is left behind in the dark corners of time. He remembers the stories he has heard, stories of great kings and warriors, of heroes who wielded swords and brought empires to their knees. Their names are immortal, written into the annals of history. But the blacksmith knows that his name will not be remembered. No bards will sing of him. His legacy will not be etched in the great halls of kings. The warriors he serves will never raise a glass in his honor. The swords he forges will slay men, but no one will speak of the hand that shaped them. A sigh escapes him, though he is alone. He can almost hear the echoes of a distant memory, an ancient prayer, a forgotten whisper. His heart, heavy with the weight of unseen labor, stirs with an unfamiliar longing. For what is it all for? Is it enough to create? To give everything? To pour all his soul into the work and still be forgotten? His hands tremble slightly as he presses the hot metal into shape. The heat of the forge is nothing compared to the fire inside him, the fire that refuses to die, that burns deeper as the years pass. It is a fire that consumes, a fire that gives him purpose, but it is also a fire that leaves him hollow, a man without a name. He has been here too long. The blacksmith wonders for a fleeting moment if it is too late to step away, to leave the forge behind. But no, he is bound to it, bound to the hammer, bound to the anvil. The sound of the hammer grows louder now, as though the forge itself has become a living thing. The blacksmith's grip tightens, his focus sharpening. There is no turning back. He will finish the blade. He will complete his work, for it is all he knows. As the metal begins to take shape beneath his hand, the fire seems to burn brighter, hotter, as if it senses the tension within him. He moves faster now. The rhythm of his hammer strikes, becoming almost frantic. Each blow carries the weight of his uncertainty, his fear, his resolve. This blade, this weapon, will be sharp, strong, and deadly. And yet, it will be held by another. He is only the maker, and the maker is always forgotten. The air around him begins to shimmer with heat as the blade cools in the water. The hiss of steam rises like a serpent from the depths of the forge, winding its way toward the rafters. The blacksmith steps back, his breath heavy in the silence. His work is done. The blade rests in the water, the steam fading slowly into the air. The blacksmith's hands ache, his body weary from the labor, but the emptiness remains. The weight of the blade is not in his hands, but in the world it will enter. It will be raised in battle, it will taste blood, and it will be forgotten in the wake of the battle's aftermath. He stares at the blade, watching as the light from the fire glimmers on its edge. The work is finished, yet the blacksmith feels no triumph. There is only silence. The blade is cold now, hardened by the water, ready for its destiny. He wonders, as he always does, if anyone will ever know his name, if anyone will remember the hand that forged it. He knows the answer. It is no. He is a forgotten man, a forgotten craftsman. And yet, as he looks at the blade before him, there is a strange comfort in this. For in his anonymity, in the quiet hum of the forge, he has created something eternal. His work will live on long after he is gone, his name lost to time. The kings and warriors will be remembered, their names carried on in songs and stories. But the blacksmith? He will be nothing more than a shadow. Still, he cannot escape the flicker of something within him, a fleeting thought that refuses to fade. What if, just what if, his name was not forgotten? What if, in some distant future, someone would look back and recognize the hands that had forged the blades that shaped history? But no, the thought is gone as quickly as it came. It is the forge, the fire, the anvil, and the hammer that define him, not the name. As the first rays of light begin to pierce the dark sky, the blacksmith steps away from his work. He wipes his brow with the back of his hand, the soot streaking his face like a veil between him and the world. The forge is quiet now, its fire burning low in the hearth. His work is done. And yet, as he stands there in the fading light, a sense of emptiness fills him. The flame that has burned within him for so long will never die, but it will never be acknowledged either. His legacy will remain in the shadows of the world, and that is how it will always be. But perhaps that is enough. Perhaps the world does not need to know his name. Perhaps the work, the craft, is all that matters. The blacksmith turns away from the forge, his heart heavy, but at peace. His name may never be spoken, but his work will endure. For in the silence of the forge, in the heat of the fire, he has created something eternal. And as he steps out into the morning light, the weight of his creation still heavy in his hands, he wonders, can a man be forgotten and still leave a mark upon the world? Does a name truly matter when the work lives on? With each step away from the forge, the blacksmith fades into the fog, his figure dissolving into the quiet of the dawn. The world will forget him, but his work will endure, just as the flame that never dies. The forge crackles, its fiery breath casting long shadows across the stone walls. The blacksmith's hands, steady but weathered, grip the hammer. Each strike lands with a heavy clang, sending tremors through the air, reverberating in the bones. Sweat glistens on his brow, mixing with the soot and ash that coats his skin. The rhythmic sound fills the air, strike, 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 and yet it is not enough to drown out the quiet gnawing at the back of his mind. This blade, like all the others, must be perfect. The blacksmith cannot afford any flaw. But as the molten iron twists beneath his hammer, his thoughts turn darker. The blades he forges are not merely tools, they are harbingers of death. The hammer falls again, each strike heavy with the weight of what it creates. The sword he shapes today will go to war. It will taste blood, and it will be wielded by someone else. Someone who will be remembered. Someone whose name will be sung by bards. Not his. His name will fade, lost to the shadow of time, forgotten as all the others are. His heart stirs with an unfamiliar unease, the sense of a curse he can neither escape nor break. For what is the blacksmith, if not the maker of death? He shapes the weapons of kings and warriors, the instruments that will bring life to some and death to others. But his hands, the hands that forge the destiny of so many, will never be held in reverence. There are no songs sung of blacksmiths, no tales told of their struggle. They are the silent creators, the forgotten laborers, whose work shapes the world, yet remains unseen. The blacksmith knows this truth in his bones, and yet he cannot escape the feeling that he is cursed. Cursed to toil endlessly in the fire, his name lost to the flames, his soul consumed by the very heat he bends to his will. The hammer rises again, falling onto the red-hot iron with a sound that sends ripples through the very air. The flame flickers as the metal cools, turning from molten to solid, its shape taking form under the blacksmith's tireless hands. The sword is close now, its edge sharp and its hilt firm. But with every inch of progress, the blacksmith's unease grows. For what he creates will never be for him. His hands, calloused and stained by the very fire he serves, are bound to this curse. The sword he forges will bring glory to others, but it will never carry his name. The clang of metal is a constant companion in this solitary life. The forge is a world unto itself, a place where time passes in the heat of the fire, in the rhythm of the hammer, in the fleeting moments of quiet between each blow. The blacksmith can almost hear the voices of the past echoing in the flames, the warriors who wielded his swords, the kings who commanded his weapons. The battles fought, the blood spilled, all of it, born of his hands. And yet, no one will ever know the maker. No one will ever honor the one who shaped these tools of destiny. The weight of this truth presses heavily on the blacksmith's chest. And as he looks at the blade before him, the flame's reflection flickering in its steel, he feels the curse sink deeper into his soul. The sword is finished, its edge gleaming in the firelight. The blacksmith steps back, his breath coming in ragged gasps as the weight of his labor sinks in. He is a man of silence, of sweat and steel, of shadows and flame. His work is done, but the emptiness remains. The curse remains. He knows that this blade will be wielded in battle, that it will bring a king to power or bring a knight to his death, and yet it will never carry his name. The blacksmith's legacy will remain hidden, lost in the echoes of time. His hands have shaped history, and yet he will be forgotten. The fire that burns in his chest, the fire that compels him to create, will never be quenched. It will burn on, an eternal flame, but one that will never be seen by the world. He lifts the sword from the anvil, its weight strange in his hand. It feels like nothing more than a tool, a creation, a piece of iron. It will go to war, to a battle that will decide the fate of kingdoms, but the blacksmith knows it will not matter. He will remain anonymous, forgotten. And in that anonymity, there is a strange kind of peace. His work will live on, even if his name does not. The kings, the knights, the warriors, they will fight, and their names will be sung. But the blacksmith's hands will remain invisible, his legacy a ghost in the shadows. The flames flicker in the forge as he places the sword on the workbench, the fire casting long shadows across the room. The work is done. The curse is complete. The blacksmith stares at the blade, wondering if, in some distant future, someone will remember his name. Perhaps the sword will be used by a king, or perhaps it will fall into the hands of a peasant. But no matter who wields it, no one will know the man who forged it. No one will know the price he paid in silence, in solitude. The blacksmith steps away from the forge, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he will never be more than a shadow. His work will outlast him, but he will never see it. He will never hear the bards sing of his deeds, never hear the warriors speak his name. He is a ghost in the history of men, forgotten as soon as the blade leaves his hands. But perhaps, just perhaps, that is enough. Perhaps the curse is not in being forgotten, but in knowing that his work will endure long after he is gone. And as the blacksmith walks away, the hammer still ringing in his ears, the fire burns low in the hearth. His curse, his legacy, will remain in the weapons he has forged, the silent, unspoken contribution of a man whose name is lost to time. The anvil rests, the hammer falls, and the blacksmith fades into the shadows of history. The forge is quiet, but for the low murmur of the fire, the crackling flames that dance and flicker in the shadows. The air is thick with smoke, heavy and acrid, as the blacksmith stands before the anvil, the metal glowing red in his hands. The hammer rises, its weight familiar, its rhythm ingrained in his body, like the pulse of his own heart. Strike after strike, the clang of iron against iron echoes through the room. Each blow is a prayer, each swing an offering to the fire that consumes everything in its path. The room feels small, constricted, filled with the heat of the forge and the weight of the blacksmith's thoughts. There is no room for anything else here, no time for anything but the work. But as the blacksmith shapes the metal, his thoughts wander, drift into the quiet spaces between the blows. The fire hums a strange tune, one that seems to reach deep into his bones. His hands, scarred and worn, work almost without thought, driven by something deeper, something that cannot be named. His soul, like the iron, is being forged in the flames. There is no end to the work, no finish line. The rhythm of the hammer is constant, unrelenting, a cycle that never ceases. It is the life of the blacksmith, a life bound to the fire, to the heat, to the anvil. His legacy will not be found in tales or songs. It will be found in the work he leaves behind, in the tools that others will wield, in the weight of the metal that carries his soul. And yet, there is something more, something the blacksmith cannot ignore. Each sword, each axe, each tool that he creates will be wielded by men whose names will be remembered. The kings, the knights, the warriors, those who fight and die in the great battles. Their names will be sung by bards, carved into the stones of castles and temples. But the blacksmith's name will never be spoken. His work will live on, but he will fade into the shadows, unnoticed, forgotten. He is a ghost in the grand scheme of history, a shadow whose hands shape the course of kingdoms, but whose face will never be remembered. The clang of the hammer grows louder, as though to drown out the thoughts that stir within him. And yet, as the blade begins to take shape beneath his hand, the blacksmith wonders if it is all worth it. The fire of the forge burns brightly, but what does it leave behind? What does it mean to forge something, to shape a tool, a weapon, a destiny, if no one will remember the one who made it? The blacksmith's heart grows heavy with the weight of this truth. His hands, worn and scarred, are the hands that have shaped the weapons of war, that have forged the tools of empire. And yet, he is invisible. His work, though vital to the fabric of the world, will never be acknowledged. The hammer strikes again, but the blacksmith's mind is no longer focused on the metal. His thoughts drift, and for the first time in years, he wonders if he could walk away from it all. Could he leave the forge, leave the fire, leave the rhythm of the hammer behind? The question lingers, unspoken, as the metal cools beneath his touch. The sword is almost complete, its edge sharp, its hilt solid. The blacksmith steps back, wiping the sweat from his brow, his eyes never leaving the blade. It will be wielded by a king or a knight or perhaps a murderer. It will change the course of battles, shape the fate of men. And yet, the blacksmith's hands will be forgotten. His name will never be spoken, never whispered in reverence. He will be nothing more than a shadow in the firelight. But the work will live on. That at least is something. The blade, now cool to the touch, gleams in the dim light of the forge. The blacksmith runs his hand over its surface, the steel smooth beneath his fingers. It is a thing of beauty, of strength, of purpose. But for all its elegance, it is a cold thing, lifeless, empty, until it is taken up by another. The blacksmith knows this. He knows the purpose of his work, even if he does not know the purpose of his life. The flame of the forge burns brightly, but it is not his fire. It is the fire of the world, the fire of destiny, the fire of war. And he, the blacksmith, is merely its servant, shaping the tools that will carve the future. He pauses for a moment, standing before the anvil, the heat of the forge against his skin. The world outside seems distant, as though he is locked in this small, smoky space, alone with his thoughts, alone with his creation. The sword before him is the result of years of labor, of sacrifice, of devotion to the craft. And yet there is something empty in it, something that feels unfinished. Perhaps it is not the sword that is lacking, but the blacksmith himself. Perhaps it is not the work that needs to be completed, but the man who shapes it. He has given his life to the forge, but in doing so, he has lost himself. The silence in the forge deepens, as though the very air holds its breath. The fire flickers, casting long shadows across the room, and the blacksmith turns away from the sword. The work is done, but his heart remains heavy. The weight of his creation, the weight of his anonymity, presses upon him. The hammer rests. The anvil stands silent. And yet, the blacksmith knows that he will return to it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. The rhythm will never cease. The fire will never die. And perhaps, in the end, that is enough. Perhaps it is enough to know that he has shaped the future, even if no one will ever know his name. As the blacksmith turns toward the door, the forge's light flickers behind him, casting long shadows across the stone floor. The night has come, but the fire remains, its warmth still lingering in the air. He steps into the cold, the world outside quiet, the winds carrying the scent of distant battles, of kingdoms at war. And yet, In this moment, there is peace. The blacksmith has forged his destiny, and though it will never be written in the histories of kings, it will live on in the metal, in the sword, in the legacy of the work itself. And in the fire of the forge, he finds solace. Not in glory, not in fame, but in the simple, silent act of creation. The hammer falls again, and the blacksmith fades into the shadows, his legacy a whispered echo in the dark. The fire crackles, its light flickering against the rough stone walls, casting long shadows across the smithy. The blacksmith stands alone, his figure bathed in the crimson glow of the forge. His hammer rises, heavy and resolute, then falls with a force that echoes through the silence. Strike after strike, he shapes the metal, bend, twist, strike. The air is thick with heat, the sharp scent of molten iron filling the space as the forge hums with life. This is where the blacksmith is both master and servant, bound to the fire, bound to the anvil, bound to the rhythm of creation. His hands are calloused, his fingers stained with the blood of years of labor. Each mark on his skin tells a story, each scar, each burn, a chapter in the silent history of his craft. Yet there is no glory in his work, no songs sung of his labor. No kings or knights will remember his name. He is but a shadow in the grand theater of history, a ghost whose hands shape the weapons that decide battles and forge empires. The clang of his hammer, the hiss of steam as metal meets water, the heat of the forge, it is all that he knows. But even in this relentless rhythm, something stirs deep within him. The blacksmith knows what his work is meant for. He has forged swords, axes, shields, tools of war, and instruments of power. These weapons will be wielded by men who will fight in the name of kings, who will ride into battle with honor and bloodlust. But when they raise the blade high, it will not be his name they shout. His name will not echo across the battlefield. It will be forgotten. These men will win or die, but the blacksmith will remain anonymous, his name lost in the shadow of history. Yet as he shapes the steel before him, his hands tremble, not from weariness, but from something deeper. The weight of the work. The weight of a legacy that will never be his. He pauses for a moment, wiping the sweat from his brow with the back of his arm. The blade he's been working on is nearly complete, its edge sharp, its form perfect. But it is not the blade that draws his gaze. It is the knowledge that this weapon will outlive him, that it will be remembered long after the hammer falls silent. This blade will find itself in the hands of a warrior, a knight, or a king. It will carry with it the hopes of an empire, the fate of a kingdom. But in the end, it will be a tool of death, and he who forged it will be forgotten. The fire shifts in the forge, casting shadows that seem to stretch like fingers across the walls. The blacksmith runs a hand over the metal, feeling its cold surface, its hardness. It is a thing of beauty, but also of violence. He is the creator of war, the maker of the weapons that tear nations apart. His hands have shaped the course of history, yet he will never see the results. He will never know the faces of the men who wield his work. He will never hear the stories of the battles won or lost because of the sword he forged. And still, he cannot stop. The hammer rises again, the rhythm of the forge pulling him back to his task. There is no rest for the blacksmith. There is no respite. As he dips the blade into the quenching water, steam rises in thick, swirling clouds around him, blurring the world into a haze. The hiss of the steel cooling, the sound of water meeting fire, fills the space. For a moment, there is only the sound of the forge, the crackling fire, the swirling steam. In this moment, the blacksmith feels the weight of time pressing down on him, the burden of a lifetime spent in the heat and the smoke, creating tools that will never bear his name. He lifts the blade from the water, its edge gleaming with an almost unnatural shine in the dim light of the forge. His work is done. The sword is complete. He holds it up, admiring the gleam of the steel, the sharpness of the blade. It is perfect in every way. But as his gaze lingers on the sword, there is no joy in his heart, no pride. There is only a quiet, growing emptiness. He knows that the work will not be enough to fill the void. For all the years of labor, for all the sweat and blood that have gone into this creation, the blacksmith is still left with the same question. What is it all for? The blacksmith knows that history will not remember him. His name will never be carved into the stone of a castle, never sung in the halls of a king's court. He will never be the hero, never be the legend. His life is measured in the weight of the hammer, the heat of the forge, and the steel that he shapes. But even in the quiet solitude of the smithy, he cannot ignore the truth that gnaws at his soul. He is a master of the forge, yet a servant to fate. His work will live on, but he will not. As he sets the blade down, the blacksmith takes a step back, wiping his brow. The forge still burns brightly, the fire flickering like a heartbeat. His work is done, but the night has only just begun. He knows that when the sun rises, he will return to the forge once more, to shape another blade, another weapon, another tool of destiny. And in this cycle, he will remain. The hammer will fall, the fire will burn, and the blacksmith will continue. Quietly, invisibly, silently shaping the future with hands that will never be remembered. In the stillness of the forge, the blacksmith stands alone. The fire dances in the hearth, casting long shadows against the stone walls. The blade rests on the workbench, its edge gleaming in the dying light of the forge. And as he looks upon his creation, the blacksmith wonders, can a man ever truly leave his mark on the world? Can the work he does, no matter how vital, ever be enough to make him remembered? He shakes his head as though trying to banish the thought. His work is his legacy, and that is enough. For in the forge, there is no room for doubt, no space for regret. The rhythm of the hammer continues, steady and unyielding. The blacksmith's legacy may be lost in time, but the fire will never die. Dưới đây là đoạn văn bản yêu cầu được viết lại easy. Không thêm, không bớt, không sửa xóa. The forge is dark, save for the glow of the flames licking the edges of the blacksmith's workspace, casting long shadows against the walls. The air is thick with the scent of burning charcoal, the heat oppressive and biting. In the flickering light, his silhouette moves with deliberate, rhythmic motions, hammer rising and falling in a dance as old as time itself. Each strike on the anvil sings a song of labor and duty, an unspoken testament to the blacksmith's place in the world. A single spark flies into the darkness, vanishing without a trace, much like the blacksmith himself, unseen, unremembered, yet vital. His hands, calloused from years of labor, work tirelessly with the heat of the fire, shaping metal into something far more than just a tool. It is an instrument of war. A sword, an axe, a shield. Each piece born from fire, but destined for far bloodier fates. The clang of metal against metal rings out, echoing into the stillness of the forge, and each sound seems to reverberate through the blacksmith's bones. The hammer falls again, striking the iron with a force that could bend not just metal, but the very world itself. Yet, in this moment, the blacksmith is not bending the world. He is shaping history. The sword, still in its rough form, glows red with heat as it lies upon the anvil. Its edge has yet to be sharpened, its hilt still unformed. But the blacksmith knows what it will become. A weapon, a tool of men who will wield it in battles that will change the course of kingdoms, of empires. It will never be just a piece of metal. It will carry with it the weight of kings, of wars, of destinies not yet written. The blacksmith's gaze lingers on it for a moment, almost reluctant. He knows that it will be held by someone else, someone whose name will be remembered, whose legacy will be immortalized in the songs of bards and the pages of history books, and yet his name will never be sung. His hands will be forgotten, his sweat and blood poured into tools of war that no one will ever acknowledge. The blacksmith is no hero, no conqueror. His labor will not be heralded by the ages. The hammer falls again, and with it, the blacksmith drives his thoughts away. There is no time for reflection. The blade must be finished. The world outside the forge is waiting for it. The flames in the hearth shift in hue, flickering as the blacksmith works, casting shadows that stretch long and dark against the stone walls. The air around him grows hotter, the sweat trickling down his face, stinging his eyes. The rhythm of the hammer against metal is almost hypnotic, a steady thrum that feels as if it could shake the very foundations of the earth. Each blow he strikes is another breath in the endless cycle of creation, and yet, with each breath, he cannot escape the deep loneliness that clings to him. There is no applause here, no recognition. There is only the work, only the constant pressure to create something worthy of the battles that will unfold. Yet the blacksmith knows that his name will never be attached to it. His creations will find their way into the hands of those who will write their own legacies, and he will remain a mere shadow in their wake. His thoughts are interrupted by the hiss of steam as he dips the glowing metal into the quenching barrel. The iron cools, the sound like a sharp breath drawn in the silence. The steam rises in thick clouds, swirling in the dim light, as if the very air itself is alive with the energy of the forge. The blacksmith watches. His eyes narrow as he sees the shape of the sword taking form. The blade is hardened now, its edge sharp and cruel. It is a weapon in every sense, ready to be wielded by a warrior, ready to carve its way through the chaos of war. But there is no satisfaction in the blacksmith's chest. No pride. Just the quiet echo of his own hands at work. The sword before him will never be his. It will belong to someone else. It will carry with it the blood of men, the cries of battle. It will become part of a legend, perhaps, but that legend will not speak of him. The blacksmith will remain in the shadows, his name lost to time, his work forged in silence. The forge is his only companion. The fire, the heat, the rhythmic strike of the hammer, these are the constants of his life. His craft, his labor, his legacy. But even in his solitude, there is an unmistakable truth that presses against him. The blacksmith's work is fleeting. It is bound to the hands of others. He will shape the sword, but it is the warrior who will carry it into history. He will make the armor, but it is the knight who will don it in the light of battle. The blacksmith is a creator in the shadows, a craftsman whose name will be swallowed by time. But the work will live on. As the blacksmith steps back, the sword cools on the workbench before him, its shape complete, its edge sharp and deadly. He runs his hands over its surface, the cold steel smooth beneath his fingers. It is a beautiful thing, forged in fire and blood, and yet the beauty of it is not his to claim. The beauty of this sword will be defined by its purpose. Its edge will be sharp, not because of the blacksmith's skill, but because of the warriors who will wield it, the kings who will command it. It is not his creation that will matter. It is the battles it will fight, the men it will kill, the history it will shape. The silence in the forge deepens, and the blacksmith steps back, watching the sword in the dim light. It is done. The work is finished, but his heart remains heavy. He has done his duty. He has created something that will change the world, but he will never see it. He will never witness the battles fought with the sword he has forged. He will never see the warriors who will carry it. His hands will remain invisible in the stories that will be told. His work will outlast him, but he will never be a part of the tale. As he turns to leave, his gaze lingers on the sword one last time. The fire flickers, casting long shadows across the walls. The forge hums softly in the background, the heat still rising from the hearth. The blacksmith knows that tomorrow will bring more of the same, another sword to be forged, another piece of metal to be shaped. The hammer will fall again, the forge will burn once more, and yet he will remain a ghost in the shadows. He has created something eternal, but in the process, he has become forgotten. With one last glance at the blade, the blacksmith steps out of the forge and into the cold night air. The world is silent around him, the stars distant and cold. His footsteps echo in the empty night as he disappears into the darkness, his legacy, his work, still glowing like the embers in the hearth. The fire may die, but the anvil's echo will continue to resonate long after the blacksmith himself is gone. Bạn cần tôi làm gì tiếp với đoạn này?